Welcome to Sister Wives, Season 20, Episode 5, Kissing Another Man's Wife. Not a lot of stuff this episode. It's the Christmas episode, which means we're moving through this season pretty quick. Episode 5, we're already at Christmas, which is roughly 5 months.
It's 10 times more interesting than last week's Nothing episode, but there was still too much Kody and best customer servicer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say something unpopular, I think. I liked Brody, Aurora's boyfriend. I liked Aurora more after getting to know Brody. I think I mostly liked him because he is nothing like Kody.
And he proved me wrong, walking up to the house in a cowboy hat, and I was like, oh, but wearing cowboy boots too, the proper way. And sounds like a rancher.
Not
with your jeans tucked in.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear this is extremely natural to him, although normally take your boots off at the door. But anyway, no, but and also he did not.
If you respect the people you're walking into.
Well, also, he didn't seem to get Kody at all. He wasn't fawning over Kody. He didn't seem to really understand anything Kody was saying. He seemed to just be into Aurora, and that was very sweet.
Boner alert. Cody's got a chub for that guy.
I was like, boner alert is not what I got from this guy. But yeah, well, Cody's trying to win him over, and the guy just is like Teflon, like nothing's sticking. Anyway, let's get into the actual episode. Mary and Jen, they make a point to mention Logan, that Logan reached out for the candy cane episode, which we later on found out was a family tradition until the family split up, which is very sweet. I do think that Logan is actively trying to maintain relationships with everyone in the family. And you just said Cody's still parenting everyone. I mean, Logan's still parenting everyone. Logan is still running this family. We said that in the early seasons that Logan was running the family. Logan is still trying to... I don't mean that disparagingly. I mean that literally...
we do, absolutely. Aimed at Kody.
And everyone else. But I say that because also this last week there was a post Kody made about Special Forces, and Logan posted, and some people were a little critical, like, oh, I can't believe Logan's supporting his dad. And many people pointed out, it's still his dad. And Logan is still parenting everyone. He's still trying to maintain... They do not, from what I understand, they do not want to have their own children, and so they're trying to maintain... It just seems like Logan is there being the adult to specifically Kody. But trying to maintain these things. They talk about Janelle and Mary have talked a little bit, mostly about Coyote Pass. There's a little bit more about Coyote Pass. There's a little bit of, I feel like, implied criticism that Christine gave the property to Robyn and Kody. I don't think that's a fair description of what happened. Christine removed her name. She didn't have any control. Kody and Robyn were already on the property. All Christine did was take her name off of it. I frankly don't think she should have. I think she should have kept her name on it and then been like, yeah, I'm going to keep my house, and Janelle and Mary should be able to keep the money that they put into Robyn's house. Everybody should be able to leave with their Vegas money and their share of Coyote Pass. That's not what happened. I was a little like, because I felt like it was a criticism of Christine as opposed to a criticism of... When Christine left, she spoke to the head of the family. And at the time, Mary absolutely deferred to Kody as the head of the family. She shouldn't have, because he was not taking care of her by any means. Janelle also deferred to Kody as head of the family, and she should not have, and she admits it because she admits that it was stupid that she trusted him. But that's what happened. So it's a little bit like, it feels a little disingenuous to kind of drag Christine into it instead of being like, why did, well, we know why Kody accepted that. Because he was like, I got to get my little fingers on everything, and if they did not have a TV show, they would have gotten nothing. I think it's only public shame. And the fact that all these discussions were recorded, I think is the only reason why they got anything at all. Anyway.
Yeah.
So then they talk, Jen talks to her about, like, I don't want to be a bitch. And she's like, you need to be a bitch. And they do some, and it doesn't really come off as bitchy. It comes off as sassy. But good for her. I mean, Jen is flat out saying Cody's is a jerk.
Well,
he's taking advantage of you. He's never going to get better. If he says he's going to be better, he's lying. I appreciate somebody really telling that to Mary.
I mean, yeah.
And then they do say, comb your hair, Kody.
Still falling on deaf ears, but yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. I hope he saw that last night and was so disgusted and embarrassed. So then we go over to North Carolina where they're having a pre-holiday event. It's the day after the tree cutting. So last week episode.
To be embarrassed, you have to have some
shame,
self-awareness.
Yes.
So anyway, sorry. Back to North Carolina.
It is funny because they show David and Christine and a very mature, truly. I was like, oh, look at that young lady going up to the house, and Christine's like, that's a cannonball. And David's like, it's not. And she's like, no, Caleb said it. It's like, then Caleb is pulling your leg. It's a cannonball. I think Caleb is not making that true. Is making that up. They go inside. They say, is that a cannonball? Maddie says, yes, it's a cannonball. And he goes, Caleb, is it a cannonball? And Caleb goes, well,
No.
actually, no. And then everyone's like, what? You told all of us it was a cannonball. And he's like, I did not say it was a cannonball. It kind of sounds like one of those things where he never corrected them.
Yeah.
And they took his non-correction as proof or whatever. I don't know. But eventually he explained it was used in a mine. Like mining, in a mining operation from Colorado. I'm trying to remember which element it was. Beryllium?
Don't look at me like I'm going to remember anything about that.
I don't remember either, but I misunderstood at first. I thought he was saying that it was something that they extracted from the mine, and I was like,
Something they used to help crush
It was something
stuff.
they used to crush stuff. Well, there was all these different ones, and this was one of the stages. Anyway, and I was like, okay, that does make sense. But I was like, what I remembered was several episodes ago when Janelle said that David can be kind of a know-it-all. And I was like, this is why he's a little bit of a know-it-all, because he did know.
Yeah.
He instantly clocked that it was not a cannonball, and that if Caleb was saying it was, he was lying to them. And then they all got annoyed with Caleb, but it did make me laugh. And then he's teasing Janelle about farmers only. And it's like, I am both with Janelle, she does not need to do anything. But also, like, David's just also hassling her a little bit. He's just giving her a hard time. Especially when he goes, oh, you can get a guy with a six-pack. That was 100% a swipe at Kody. That was 100% a swipe at Kody, and he was expecting her to be like, the last thing I want is another guy's got swearing about his six-pack or something. They were just teasing her. She does not need to go. And then they go into a long speech about how Kody, or Christine does, I think Janelle does as well, but Christine does it more, about how high maintenance Kody is. He's got to have his special food, which on Special Forces, all of his castmates absolutely confirmed. He's got to have all these special rules, all this special food, all this special stuff. We've seen it before. And she's like, after coming from high maintenance Kody, guys can seem overwhelming. And then she has to explain to Janelle that not every guy is that hard. A lot of them are easy.
Well, and then she says about what's his name, David? She's like, and he can take care of himself completely.
Yeah. Well, there's just how some guys are easy. There's a lot of easy guys, and you can hear the director go, easy going or easy? And then she laughs really hard. She's like, okay, easy going, what we would call low maintenance, not easy men. She does not want one of those. And then they talk a little bit about how...
But according to Robyn, she's got to get the poke before she's officially divorced, so maybe she does need an easy man.
Well,
just saying.
Anyway, then they talk about how Janelle does have types. They talk about Sam Elliott, and they talk about Javier, I can't think of who. And then they ask Janelle about it, and she just kind of smiles, and they're like, oh, you don't want to talk about it? And she's like, well, no, I mean, yeah, I thought they were attractive, but then I married Kody Brown, so sometimes you end up with what you end up with, or something like that.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. And, by the way, I think we're going to lose battery.
Yeah, it does look that way.
It does look like that, so we'll have to stitch it together. So I ended up with Kody Brown, so some of this is who you click with, and that felt like damning with faint praise. This is one of my mother's favorite sayings. But I was like, that is more brutal than I feel like, yeah, I was into Sam Elliott, but I ended up with Kody Brown. What are you going to do? So then we see Mary and Jen, and they're going to go to New York City, and Mary feels like she's discovering who she really is. And I feel bad for Mary's storyline, because it's really hard to carry a storyline alone. Do you know what I mean? Like, I totally feel for her. There's very few people that that have successful reality shows that don't have really strong, high concept pitches.
I will say, coming right after the baloney from Robyn and Kody, it's... I would rather this.
Yes, and I don't have a problem with it, but I see a lot of people talking about how bored they are, how they hate Mary and Jen and all that, and I just go, it's really, the editing, like trying to drag it out to be an equal part of these episodes does her a disservice. And it just would be really hard. There's a reason why it's not the Real Housewife of New York. It's the Real Housewives of New York City. Because they get like 8 of them. And they're like, between the 8 of them, we'll get enough to get through a season. And a lot of that is their dynamics. No one's really talking to Mary, but occasionally Janelle. Mary's child does not want to be in the show, which I fully understand why, but there's not, like what was our favorite part of the episode? Probably watching all the kids and grandkids around the Christmas tree. It was just interesting to see them and to have the little chitty chat and stuff like that.
Not at Kody and Robyn's house, but other people's house.
And so you go, okay, that's interesting, but that's hard for Mary to sustain alone. And I'm glad she has Jen. So then we're over there. We're back in North Carolina. They're gonna decorate the outdoor tree. They talk a little bit again about how Janelle and Christine really became friends during COVID. And they decided that their friendship was more important than Kody's COVID rule. And I want to emphasize, they were following the CDC COVID rules, which not even everyone was, and they were following the TLC COVID filming rules. That came out in Christine's book.
It was Kody's way to get away from them, but we know when actual rules came out 8 months after asking for them, they were Robyn's.
No, they claimed it was the nanny's rules, but it was very...
The nanny who brought COVID.
Occasionally, Kody would say, well, my rules say you can't see your kids. Like, he was trying to isolate him, not just from Kody. I think he was just genuinely trying to punish him. And that if they had followed those rules, because Mary followed all the rules, all of the Kody rules, and she still wasn't allowed over, he would have found new reasons to punish him. I mean, he liked not going over there.
Seems like it comes straight from the playbook of how to abuse your spouse.
Well, he wanted them home alone, and he wanted them not even seeing their own kids. And he just wanted to punish them and just make them miserable because he didn't want to be with them anymore. So anyway, she talks about how they got closer. And then, so now we're over at Kody and Robyn's house, their new big fancy house with piles of stuff everywhere. At one point, we see Kody in the garage, and they're explaining how this entire garage is packed to the roof, to just like, not to the roof, but like really high. And they're trying to say that it's like Kody's extra shoes and clothing. It's just stuff. And they're like saying, oh, well, when Kody had 4 houses, he had to have 4 of everything. And so it's just like his extra shoes and clothing. And I'm like, this place is full of...
I mean, they had to make room for her dolls and all the dolls' clothes somehow, right?
They're all like in hard-sided, like those black and yellow bins that you get, like we have some out in the garage. I'm just not buying. They're trying to explain that they have all this stuff because it's Kody's stuff. And I think it's like Etsy dolls. It's him buying tools for projects he never did. It's him just being like, oh, I'm bored. I think I'm going to go get a new chainsaw. Oh, that one broke. I'm going to go get another chainsaw. Like, I think they just like to spend a lot of money because I'm not buying that is full of his shoes.
Right.
And then they cut to Mary, and Mary's like, well, he hasn't had stuff at my house for like a decade. She didn't say a decade, but I'm doing the math. He's like, and even, he hadn't come over in years, and he had been collecting his stuff for years before I left. So, like, this whole idea that they're just kind of trying to, and it's like, I also go, shoes don't last forever. And the wives have been gone for years at this point. You're telling me he's not working through any of this stuff? He's not donating any of this stuff?
It's not like they had stuff covered with blankets in their house.
Yeah, they had a whole wall. Now, I have a lot of stuff, especially my dad basically downsized to 1 carload of stuff. So all of my mom's stuff, who bought quite a bit, grandma's grandma, like everything in the family has funneled down. And now we got our share of it, so we have a lot of stuff. But I have never stolen it from a sister wife. So I can't throw stones at having a lot of stuff. But you can't, but it just infuriates me that they stole all this money from Janelle, Christine, and Mary. And then try to play it off as, well, Kody had to have all this stuff. Right. He had to have a pair of dress shoes in every house. Like, sometimes I dream about, like...
It's not like they lived on the same cul-de-sac.
Sometimes I dream about, like, what if I got on a TV show? What would I take with me? And it's like, I could happily live in, like, less. I mean, and everything could fit on that bed. Like, the stuff that you need to have a 4 of is very, very low.
Wives.
No, but I like things like toothbrush, toothpaste, hand cream, all that kind of stuff. But you know what? If something happened and I had to, like, reconsolidate that stuff within a year, it would be, I would have worked my way through it. You know what I mean? So I'm not buying any of that. I feel like that. I wonder if that, I'd look out when that Etsy stuff came out and if there's any chance that this was a direct response to that. Anyway, they're in the garage. Aurora comes out, who I barely know. She's 22.
She's 22.
She's been dating for a while, and this guy has now said, "Do you want to be my girlfriend?" And they want him to come over, and it's the way first of all, there's not a part of me for a second who believes this is a real authentic conversation that they had not already had. This is something where they were like, now that we're boyfriend, girlfriend, you know, can we film this?
Did we mention she's 22?
And I would have guessed, based on
Here comes the hormone swap talk,
that she's like 15 in this.
I mean, she
and
does.
I feel bad for but like the way she's talking, the way she's direct, you know, all of that, it seems like a high school sort of thing. So she talks about it. They have these weird conversations about, oh, well, did he ask you to be his girlfriend, or did he ask you to this or that? I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's also just weird to me because
I think Kody would have really liked it if he beat her over the head with a stick and carried her off by the hair.
And then Cody's like, well, she didn't ask me first and all that. So his name's Brody, which I was like, seriously? His name's Brody? Kody Brody? Okay, anyway. So we got confirmation, which we figured. Aurora is not interested in plural marriage. They are attending a Protestant church that's not part of any mainstream Protestant denominations that I'm familiar with. I don't know of any, and there's thousands of them, at least.
I know some churches that are okay with it, and they have churches out in Africa in the parts where
I was gonna say
that's pretty common.
We knew someone who was in Papua New Guinea. And if somebody who had 2 wives converted, they would not instruct them to leave their wife because it would be abandonment.
And they wouldn't kick them out of the church if they got another wife.
Oh, I didn't know that. But in the U.S.
in certain leadership, they might in this one church.
Yeah. And in communities where that's common.
Yeah.
So, but that is not as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, if you are part of a denomination where plural marriage is mainstream, let us know. But my point being that when I heard she was going to a Protestant church, I was like, yeah, she's probably not going to be plural marriage, and then all that. So then there's a cut back to, gosh, what am I thinking of? McKelty and Maddie having a conversation about, I don't know, food dyes or something.
Yes, and onions and honey.
Onions and honey. Don't give honey to kids under 1 year, or consult with your doctor or whatever. But there is research that shows that for adults, honey is as effective as many of the cough suppressants. So there you go. That's me. That's me information. So they talk a little bit about traditions. I don't know why I wrote. Oh, they talked about the insurance situation, which was kind of interesting because they talked about Janelle's kids could be insured because Janelle worked.
When she
was working, which was most of the time. She liked working. Mary could get insurance for her child because she was legally married to Kody. So basically, Christine's kids were the one who didn't have insurance. And they talk about how Janelle's, there was a gap in insurance, and that's when Maddie's appendix burst, and she paid that off forever. And then they talk about Christmas traditions, how the Saturday after Thanksgiving, Robyn would do cookies and do a movie, which I don't think we have ever seen. Every other tradition that they mentioned,
she's shy.
I'm gonna get to that. I think shy means don't touch me. Stop touching me.
She doesn't care about her best customer anymore.
Or
she's got no one to lord it over.
Or his denied affection. How dare those wives deny his affection? Anyway, I think the shy thing is I don't want to do interviews and I want you to stop touching me. That's what I think shy is really stands for. But we'll get to that in a second. They talk about how Mary would do this candy canes, a reference back to the beginning of the episode when Logan asked for the recipe. The PJs, which we did see, and still blows my mind that even, I know PJs are not the most fitting, intense thing, but I'm still impressed that she sewed them for all the kids. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And then Robyn says that she's continued the tradition, and then they show a picture of her when her kids were really young, which makes me think that she continued the tradition when Mary was still in the family. All the different stuff that they did together, Mary would decorate for the holidays over, all this. And so they're trying to like bring back some of these traditions, because even if it wasn't like Christine's talking, even if it wasn't Christine's tradition, it was a tradition her kids enjoyed. So then Brody's going to come over. Aurora is all flowered up, is what my notes say. I was like, at least she's wearing she looks like she went and got clothes from her mom. Which reminds me of what I used to wear in the 90s. To church specifically, like not for fun.
Quarter century ago.
They're really all over her about like, oh, are you excited or this or that? They've met Brody before. He's come over several times. It sounds like they've been dating for quite a while. It sounds like will you be my girlfriend is actually a pretty serious step. In terms of how far along they are. It wouldn't surprise me that if they're still together, which I think they are, because I think after this episode, after last week's episode, I think I went to her Facebook page and found a picture. So I think they're still together. So it wouldn't surprise me.
Creeper.
I did. For my video. It wouldn't surprise me if by now they're actually engaged, or even if they have a TLC wedding. So now we're back in New York City. John is... Did it stop?
It's about to.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and turn it off. Back. I had to get another battery. My batteries are all failing. So back in New York City. John is spending the whole time griping and groaning about how he would never want to live there. There's too many people, all of that. I'm like, it'd be fun if I didn't have to drive anywhere and I could just like walk around and stuff.
Oh yeah, if we were billionaires, yeah, who cares? Then we could live anywhere.
But the assumption is that
we're not billionaires.
And we'd have to drive and take...
Wouldn't have a security team giving us our personal space everywhere. So
they talk a little bit about traveling by themselves, which is something that Janelle has talked about. And I'm kind of surprised Janelle didn't repeat this, which is she said, if you wait for Kody, you're just never going to do it. So she talked about how she just started doing stuff with her own kids and doing whatever she wanted because you had to wait for Kody. So they talk about how when Mary was in Flagstaff and she was abandoned by Kody, Jen was her support system. And she's like, go do something. Go do something alone. So she went to Lake Havasu.
Have a beer, have a screw, and have a sue, right?
No, stop.
That's what you do there?
Oh, is that what you have in Havasu?
Yeah.
Got it. I was like, what are you talking about? What did you say? Have a
beer, have a screw, have a sue.
Gosh. I've never heard that.
The people I hung out with didn't say that, but people adjacent to
you would say it ironically.
Yes.
Yeah, no, we knew people when we were in Wyoming.
In fact, that's the person.
Is that it? You're thinking from? Who went on spring break to Havasu, and we're like, you're 35. Yeah. Why are you going to Havasu still? Like you're the creeper in someone else's story. This old country hick was out there.
And he was a creeper. I mean, yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to get into that. And so they were talking about how she went overnight, and Cody's like, I don't remember that exact story, but what I do remember is that sometimes we would just turn around and she'd be gone. And she's like, yeah, Kody was never there, so how would he know what I was doing? I would be curious if she told anyone. Like, you'd think she would at least tell, like, hey, just so you know, I'm going to be gone for a couple days, so the house is going to be locked up or something. But what is said is it was kind of weird because Mary's like, despite what anybody might say, Jen was my only support system. And then Christine's like, yeah, I agree. Jen was her only support system. So I'm like, I'm not sure if that was a swipe. I would hope it's a swipe at Robyn and Kody. But my guess is it's a swipe at the whole family. And I feel like she still hasn't deconstructed everyone's role and who really let her down. Which is the person who said she was her best friend and the person she was married to. Not the people who were always upfront about her family but were not close. Anyway.
Well, Mary's really good at not letting reality bother her.
Yeah, so anyway, but I agree. You know, it sounds like Jen is and was a really good friend. And Robyn, despite all of her, what she said on TV. So anyway, we're back to Robyn and Kody's house. The guy comes over. He's a real, John approves. He's a real cowboy. He sounds like a cowboy. People who, and we mean that in a very specific, like not in a, like a tombstone way, but like, oh, people who just, we've been around a lot of ranch people, and they have a little tiny bit of an accent that you can recognize, and it's like, oh, I don't know, just his vibe. They said he had he's a rancher, he's a very small ranch that he's developed, and I was like, I 100% believe that. They go upstairs. Robyn's very upset because they've already decorated the downstairs tree. Now they're going to do the upstairs tree, but the upstairs tree is only 4.5 feet, and she thought it was the big one, and they don't know where the big tree is gone. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a counterpoint to the, like, Mary being like, please put my name on the property that I paid for and give me my money. And Robyn's like, the downstairs tree is already decorated. We shall do the upstairs tree. Then move to the west wing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it just got weirder from there.
And then, and this is what I said. Maybe it's going to be an unpopular opinion. I liked Brody. He seemed like a totally normal human being. He seemed to be very sweet on Aurora. And he didn't, for a second, understand a thing Kody was saying that was so weird. He wasn't like, yes, sir, I totally understand that she's your property. And if I marry her, then she'll be my property. Because Cody's talking all about, you know, if you kiss someone, you're kissing someone else's wife. Now, many people have said, oh, Kody didn't have that problem when he was with Robyn. I agree.
Or that chick he banged in college.
I agree. But I will tell you what I think his argument would be. One, the chick he banged in college was a mistake, so nobody else gets to do that. That he didn't kiss Robyn and Janelle until they were engaged, and he had committed to be their wives. So they were going to be his wife, so he was okay kissing them.
Also, he takes digs this time at Tony, Mitch, and Caleb. You know, people with healthy marriages that seem to be working out just fine. He's going to be much harder on. Yeah,
well, what he said was, I wasn't very discerning with those guys, but I'm going to do it this time. And we're like, as far as I can, however I feel about they seem to all have ongoing healthy marriages.
They seem to love their wives and children. Wow. Unlike Kody.
They seem to have a good relationship with all their kids. They seem to be, their wives are all, I mean, maybe the dig is that none of their wives are talking to Kody.
Yeah.
That might be the problem.
Ugh.
But the fact that Brody didn't seem to care, because Cody's like, there was something to do with a knife, and neither Kody nor Brody had one on him, but Aurora did. And they're like, oh, we've been outmanned, you know, Kody and his typical man stuff. And she's like, oh, Brody gave that to me. And they're like, really? And he's like, yeah, you know, he talked about having protected parents. And
when I saw it, I figured immediately it was one of Cody's knives, because it could be a cheap knockoff, maybe, but it looked like a very expensive Benchmade, which are upwards of $300 or $400. Maybe more now. I haven't looked in a long time, but they're not cheap.
But no, it was hers, and Brody had given it to her, and it was like, yo, your parents are protected. Well, here's a knife. You can protect yourself. You're not, you know.
I mean, she didn't ranch her. She needs to have a knife.
I don't care
what it is.
I don't carry a knife now, but I used to always carry a knife. Because you just, you know, when you're out and about and you're doing stuff, you just need a knife. When we're doing ranch work, you're always cutting something.
Opening the grain up. Speaking of, we should buy more.
We should go buy more grain. Yeah, I mean, so anyway, like, I've never pulled it on a person, just to be clear, to make it sound weird. Never stabbed a bear with it. Like, it's just a matter of, it's just, like, useful.
Could you take a bear?
I don't know.
You couldn't. No.
Okay. I'm thinking of that movie, The Edge, or whatever. Anyway, and then Kody gets all weird, and I think what Kody is, what Aurora said was that he was talking about chastity, and Brody was not getting it, and was like, yeah, I'll stab someone if I need to. But Kody was trying to imply, like, don't touch her. Don't. And a lot of,
it
like... It
got very incestuous.
It was very weird, and it was very much like women are property, and you don't want to disrespect someone else's property. I didn't like it, and I thought more of Brody by the fact that he had no clue what Kody was talking about. which means that he's probably not in those same spaces. Because we know Kody's in the manosphere. He has fully admitted he's on the manosphere. He is in some weird, like, women are the enemy stuff. So I don't know. It's weird. I'm actually kind of hoping that Aurora marries this guy, moves out to his little ranch, gets out from underneath Kody and Robyn's thumb, and
moves to North Carolina.
starts to maybe
unprocess all the bull she's been fed since.
And of all of the kids, other than Dayton, but Dayton's so far the picture, I have no idea where he stands. But she was the one who was last year talking about, like, Gabe. And, you know, how Gabe is always nice to her. Whenever she sees Gabe on campus, he's always very loving. And she seemed very, like, confused and hurt by everything. And Kody was just, my words were word salad, protect her from you, protect her from this, blah, blah, blah. And it was very sweet. They were like, Brody, do you want to spend Christmas with us? And he's like, yeah, it's a special holiday and I want to be with my special gal. And it was just very, like, sweet. And then Kody got all weird about, oh, my special gal. I like my special gal. And then they did the shy thing again. And this is when I was like, when I first heard Robyn being called shy, my first thought was she doesn't want to do interviews. And I think that's correct. But I also think shy means stop touching me. Because now they're using
she
shy.
She doesn't get to lord it over anyone, so it's not fun.
No, before, when it was multiple wives, she was like, why can't we have public displays of affection? Why shouldn't we be able to show our affection? Well, now that she's the only wife, she's like, I'm shy. I'm shy. Get away from me. I really do think that's what that shy thing means. Is like, stop touching me all the time. Stop. I don't want to have you with your hands all over me all the time. And I do think that
he used to be a tool to control or punish the other wives.
Yeah. And I just wrote, Kody is too much. Sex, 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 sex. He's just...
As if he knows what to do during that.
Well, and the thing about it is,
he can't please a woman.
I think that he really misses Janelle in that department. It's come up a lot. I think that him and her might have had the best sex life. And I think now he's going to Robyn for what he used to get from Janelle, and Robyn is not interested. I don't mean like a certain sex act. I just think like he just is a freaking horn dog. And if he's all hopped up on testosterone or whatever weird supplements he's taking, which I'm sure have to do with virility, you know, that he is just bothering her all the time. He just can't keep his hand. And it does seem, if there's a theme of this season, it's like Kody cannot stop talking about sex with Robyn. And this whole weird discussion, it really bothered me that it was in front of their kids. Their young kids. Their young kids don't need to hear all this weird stuff. We don't. We are in our 40s and we don't need to hear all this weird stuff Kody's talking about with just wanting to fondle his wife and touch her. Like, oh. Then we cut back over to the North Carolina celebration. Peyton is there. Savannah is there. Maddie, McKelty, the grandkids. I spent the whole time just being like, oh, they're like decorating and they're like just eating the frosting. And I'm like, oh, my heart, they're so cute. Just love, love, love it. They do a little bit of caroling. They try to do it in the round, which means that... Yeah,
people know what that is, yes.
Well, no. Christine's family did not know what it was, because what they did was this person did this, then they pointed to them, and instead of starting on verse 1, they started on verse 2 with them, and then they pointed to them, and then they started with verse 3. It's supposed to be so everybody's on a different verse. It is hard to do. I had to do it at our school Christmas carols. We always would do it.
Oh, yeah.
You right? Remember?
Yeah, I do. I ring a bell at one of those.
So, yeah. So then they talk about Coyote Passes coming up. We're going to see if that gets settled. Mary says she's going to stick her lawyer on them if it's not soon. And that's about it. That's the whole thing. So, it was nice to see them around. I know it's going to be so unpopular with people. I enjoyed, like... Okay.
I didn't need to sneeze.
Turns
out...
That was so dramatic. For a yawn.
It felt like it was coming.
I know it's unpopular, and I'm the only one who feels this way, but I would be interested in seeing Aurora and Brody more. Just with, like, literally not with Kody. My guess is it's going to be even 9,000 times more Kody. And if Brody starts being buddy with Kody, I'm out.
Well, you know it's going to be more Kody because Christine asked David in this episode, "Would you hang out with Kody?" And he's like, "Well, I guess for a paycheck." I mean, he didn't say that,
Yeah,
but that's what he meant.
That's what was happening. So we're gonna see what happens. Okay, thanks. Bye.